All right, today we're literally digging in to the secret history buried right under your feet. And, yeah, hiding behind your walls.
So, have you ever wondered about this? I mean, you look down a street, right? You see two homes, practically identical, maybe even built in the same year. But one, oh man, it's just a constant headache of leaks, clogs, you name it. And the one next door, smooth sailing. It feels like it's just the luck of the draw, but it's really not that random at all.
The answer, it turns out, is often buried in your town's hidden history. Yeah, the story of how your whole area developed. And to really get what that means, we're going to look at a perfect case study. Gaithersburg, Maryland. Its story shows us exactly how a city's growth can create these invisible problems. Problems that homeowners, maybe even you, are still wrestling with today.
Okay, so what's so special about this one town? Well, it's a kind of perfect storm. A mix of history, the ground itself, and even the weather, all coming together to create some really unique challenges for its plumbing.
When you really get down to it, it's three main things. You've got the aging infrastructure, basically the age of the homes and what they were built with. Then there's the soil, the actual ground they're sitting on. And finally, you have to factor in the harsh winter weather. So let's break each one of those down.
So, this first challenge, it's a sneaky one. It happens silently, from the inside out. See, for a long time, galvanized steel was the go-to for plumbing. It was tough, seemed like it would last forever. But here's the catch. What nobody really saw coming was that over decades, that protective zinc coating wears off, and then the steel underneath starts to rust. It's almost exactly like a clogged artery for your house. The flow of water gets squeezed smaller and smaller, until one day, all you get is this sad little trickle of rusty water.
And it's not just what's happening inside the walls either. The ground itself is basically at war with the pipes. A lot of Gaithersburg is built on this really heavy clay soil, and what that means is, when it gets wet, it swells up. When it dries out, it shrinks. So just imagine the ground literally squeezing and then letting go of your sewer lines day in and day out. That constant pressure is brutal. It eventually creates these tiny little cracks, which, it turns out, are a wide open invitation for tree roots looking for water.
Then, of course, you throw winter into the mix. Just think about what happens in those unheated parts of the house, crawl spaces or attics. At night, the temperature drops. Any water left in the pipes freezes, and it expands with unbelievable force. Then, the next day, it thaws and contracts back down. This cycle, freeze, thaw, expand, contract, over and over again, it just wears out the metal or plastic. It fatigues it until one cold night, it just gives up and bursts.
Okay, so we've got these huge forces at play, right? Old pipes, shifting soil, brooding winters. But how do these big, invisible problems, how do they actually show up in your day-to-day life? Let's talk about the specific warning signs you might actually see inside your own home.
This is where all those pieces of the puzzle really click together. You know that weird brownish water you sometimes see coming out of the faucet? That's not just random. That's almost certainly rust from those old galvanized pipes we talked about. Or how about that gurgling sound the toilet makes after you flush? That's the sound of air being forced past a blockage, probably tree roots that snuck in through a pipe that was cracked by that clay soil. See? Every single one of these symptoms is a clue that points back to that bigger story buried right under your house.
So the problems are pretty clear, and they're literally rooted in the ground and in the history of the town. So what do you do about it? What's the fix? Well, it is definitely not about guesswork. It's about taking a methodical, professional approach.
I mean, think about it. How do you fix problems that have been decades in the making? A real pro doesn't just show up and start tearing open walls. No, they follow a careful three-step process. It's designed to figure out what's really going on, apply the right fix, and make absolutely sure that fix is going to last.
Okay, step one is all about diagnostics. It's so tempting to just, snake a drain and hope for the best. But that's usually just a Band-Aid. True experts now have these amazing tools, like tiny inspection cameras. They can run right down your pipes to get a live look at what's happening underground. Is it a bunch of tree roots? A pipe that's actually collapsed? This way, you're solving the real problem, not just putting a temporary patch on a symptom.
All right, once you know exactly what the problem is, the repair has to be done right, and that means using the right materials for the job. Maybe it's modern PEX piping, which is way more resistant to bursting from the cold, or maybe it's classic copper. And crucially, it means following all the local codes, like the International Plumbing Code. That's what ensures the work is safe, that it's effective, and that you won't be dealing with the same thing again in a few years.
And last but not least, the job is not done until everything is tested. A professional is going to verify that the water pressure is back to where it should be, that all the drains are flowing freely, and that every single connection is rock solid. This final check is your guarantee that the solution actually worked and the problem is really truly solved. Okay, so we've taken this deep dive into one specific town, Gaithersburg. But what does all of this mean for you no matter where you live? What's the big lesson here?
Think about this one date, 1990. It's actually a pretty big deal. A lot of research shows that homes built before then often used materials like that galvanized steel we talked about, materials that are now hitting or are way past the end of their design life. So if your home was built in that era, its hidden infrastructure definitely has a story to tell, and it's probably a story you should start listening to.
And this quote, I think, just hits the nail on the head. Understanding these local conditions is what separates the pros who know exactly what's failing and why from the contractors who are just taking a guess. It's the difference between a Band-Aid and a real long-term solution.
So from now on, the next time you hear a weird gurgle from the toilet or you notice the water pressure isn't what it used to be, try not to think of it as just another random annoyance. Think about the history of your house, your neighborhood, your whole town, because every home has a hidden story. And figuring out what that story is, that's the real key to taking care of it.